On the rocky plains of Ruusan, blue and green shafts of light stabbed skyward as dozens of lightsabers flashed to life, and the army of light prepared to meet their foes hand to hand. No sooner had the storm broken than the Sith descended, crimson blades burning hungrily, swooping down from the plateau on their speeder bikes. The Jedi and their levies, each and all battered and bruised, raised their weapons, preparing for the Brotherhood's charge. Hello and welcome back to our latest series. Today, we're going to be looking back at another of the bloodiest battles in the history of the Star Wars galaxy, looking for insights into the soldiers who fought and died in them, with the goal of understanding the worst day of these beings' lives, and, in many cases, the last day of these beings' lives. Today, we'll be discussing one of the most important battles in all of galactic history, the 7th Battle of Ruusan, the last battle between the Jedi Order and the New Sith during the New Sith Wars. This was a battle that the Jedi won, but only at enormous cost. For 1,000 years before the Ruusan campaign, the galaxy was embroiled in the New Sith Wars. A ferocious and destructive conflict between the Republic, its Jedi defenders, and a rapidly shifting collection of dark side kingdoms that called themselves the New Sith. The New Sith were quarrelsome and fought each other as much as the Jedi, but when one group of them was destroyed, another always rose to take its place, and together they slowly wore down the Republic. By 1100 BBY, the Republic had all but ceased to exist, and it fell to the Jedi to protect the galaxy. While the Jedi Council took over what was left of the Republic and kept it intact, other Jedi set out to protect the parts of the galaxy that were now beyond the Republic's borders. They established fiefdoms, becoming Jedi Lords, and raised armies to combat the marauding Sith and their pirate allies. For most of this Dark Age, the Sith were busy fighting a civil war over who got to be the Dark Lord of the Sith, but in 1010 BBY, they finally united under the banner of the Brotherhood of Darkness, whose leader, Lord Khan, solved the dispute by establishing that all claimants got to be the Dark Lord. United, the Brotherhood set out to take over the galaxy and crushed the Republic, but they were opposed by the Jedi Lords, who formed their own shared army, the Army of Light, under the leadership of Lord Hoth. The Army of Light and Brotherhood of Darkness battled all over the galaxy, wearing each other thin, and in 1002 BBY, they began fighting over Ruusan, an unremarkable backwater in the Mid-Rim. Over the course of 2 years, the two sides fought 7 battles on Ruusan, utterly exhausting their forces in the process. As the campaign dragged on, both sides became determined that Ruusan would see the final battle between the two sides, in which the other would be crushed once and for all. To that end, both Khan and Hoth called all their forces to the planet, causing a slow escalation of the battles there. In the 7th Battle of Ruusan, Jedi and Sith clashed in open war for the last time. Both sides lost some of their greatest champions and thousands more. Between them, Ruusan burned. Wide swaths of what was once a lush world were rendered desert between conventional weapons and terrible displays of Force power. The Jedi and the Sith sent large armies of non-Force sensitives into battle, armed with whatever could be scrounged up, down to primitive battle axes and polearms. The tides of the battle went back and forth, and before long, both armies were near the breaking point, with neither willing to concede. The Sith had made their move in the dead of night. Black clouds gathered in the night sky, blotting out the stars as white-hot lightning danced along the top of distant plateaus, a frenzy of power and lethal intent that could only be born of the dark side. The Jedi and their followers had started running when they felt the power gathering in the distance, just before it was released as a wall of fire, which seemed to sweep over all the world. The forest the Army of Light had been camped in burned, shriveling as the inferno swept through it, reducing the vibrant woods to naught but ash and blackened husks. Lord Hoth's followers had just barely made it out into the boulder-strewn plains beyond, singed but alive. As the Jedi and their levies charged out into the open plains, they walked into a shooting gallery. Blaster bolts and arrows stabbed through the dark as the Sith ground troops advanced, their charge shaking the earth. Blue and green shafts of light stabbed skyward as dozens of lightsabers flashed to life, and the Jedi and their allies charged forth to meet the Sith in battle. But even as the first waves of Sith troops broke like a wave upon Hoth's lines, the Dark Lords made their move, descending from the plateau on their flyers, red sabers burning and all guns blazing. The agile speeders circled above the field, spitting bolts of plasma into the Jedi ranks. The bolts dug trenches in the muddy earth, kicking up clouds of seared rock and dust. Jedi fell, their lightsaber quenched, and the corpses of levies began to mount. Through it all, the ground troops were still coming, led by brutish marauders whose burning blades slammed against those of the Jedi with reckless hatred, stabbing at whatever was in their path. One of Hoth's knights raised her lightsaber, its sky blue blade gleaming in the darkness, batting away blaster bolts and hewing at arrows, while the knight's eyes remained fixed on the Sith marauders carving a path toward her. Then, the ground erupted beneath her. One of Khan's flyers had gotten close, kicking up a cloud of earth and hurling the knight into the air. She landed hard in the mud, and her saber tumbled from her hand, its blade winking out of existence. Searing pain shot through her bones, and as blasts started to sound overhead, she could do little but roll herself over to see whatever new horror the Brotherhood had unleashed. Instead, she looked up just in time to see one of the Brotherhood flyers spinning out of control, trailing smoke down into the thick of the Sith troops. Others started to follow as brilliant blue bolts lanced through the clouds, strafing the Sith positions and sniping the Dark Lord's flyers out of the sky. The bolts were followed by gunships. The light from the burning forest reflected in their golden filigree and false sails, from which flew the proud banners of a Jedi Lord. Even as the knight slipped out of consciousness, she felt she could rest easy. Farfalla had finally arrived. Under the guidance of Darth Bane, the greatest lords of the Brotherhood of Darkness conjured up a fearsome force storm at the start of the 7th battle, devastating the Army of Light. But rather than following up on this with more displays of force power, as Bane urged, Lord Khan ordered a charge, and the armies of the Sith rushed in to engage the weakened Jedi forces. The Sith's charge was driven back by the return of Lord Farfalla, who showed up late to the party with 300 Jedi Knights and a fleet of warships, which promptly broke the Sith blockade and scattered their renewed offensive. Together, the Army of Light scattered the forces of the Brotherhood of Darkness, forcing the last of the Sith Lords to retreat to a final redoubt, a cave deep in one of Ruusan's valleys. As the remnants of the Sith forces gathered at the mouth of the cave, Khan and the surviving Sith Lords prepared a weapon of last resort, a thought bomb. Darth Bane had given Khan the idea and had presented him with ancient scrolls describing how to conjure up such a weapon as a peace offering after Khan tried to have him killed. This, however, had been a trick. The thought bomb was a suicidal weapon, a concentration of force energy that, when unleashed, would utterly annihilate all force sensitives in the vicinity, body and soul alike. The shattered remnants of the victims' souls would then be gathered into an iridescent silver orb, where they would endure eternal torment. Bane had led Khan to believe that the greatest of Sith Lords were strong enough to survive such a ritual, but Bane had lied. The Army of Light pursued Khan to the valley and quickly dispersed the Sith followers gathered around the mouth of the cave. From the survivors, Hoth learned of what Khan was planning. He led a force of 99 Jedi Knights down into the caves, confronting Khan just as the thought bomb finished forming. As Hoth lunged at Khan in a last-ditch attempt to stop him, Khan detonated the thought bomb with a clap of his hands. In an instant, all those present, Jedi and Sith, were consumed and destroyed. With the detonation of the thought bomb, the 7th Battle of Ruusan was over, and with it ended the new Sith Wars. Against all hope, the Republic flourished after the battle's conclusion, rapidly rebuilding itself and becoming stronger and more prosperous than ever before. But all this came at a high cost. Lord Hoth and some of the Jedi Order's finest perished in the battle. In the aftermath of the battle, it was believed that the Sith had been wiped out completely. This battle was the deadliest clash between Jedi and Sith in galactic history, and though the Jedi won on paper, in reality, everyone lost, except Darth Bane, the sole survivor. With his rivals gone, Bane was free to remake the Sith as he saw fit, and from the ashes of the Brotherhood of Darkness, he secretly formed the Order of the Sith Lords, an order which would be governed by his rule of two, an order that would one day have its revenge against the Jedi. But that does it for this installment of the series. What do you guys think of it so far? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below, and as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you in the next one.